Well, welcome. This is the very first episode of What's That Sound podcast. I'm Stu Watts, the host. Today's episode is with JUJO. He is a Melbourne-based producer, engineer, and artist. We get into such a good discussion. We talk about how he got to where he is today, the different ways he kind of discovered music, how he works with different artists, what it's like in sessions, and he gives some really, really valuable advice for anyone that is just starting out. So it's a great chat. I'm really excited. Let's get into it, my chat with JUJO. You're listening to What's That Sound with your host, Stu Watts. Going on? We are here, episode number 1 with the man JUJO. What's that sound podcast? Welcome.
Thank you, Stu.
Thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time. Appreciate you making the trek out here. So you know, for anyone that doesn't know who JUJO is, let's give the people a bit of a quick rundown to what it is you currently do, and then we'll get into your backstory after.
All
that.
right. Well, pretty much, I'm just a hip hop producer out of Naarm. I can make any music, but that's what I've been focusing on. I produce, make beats, engineer. Just all around, just enjoy making music for Australia and for the world. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah. So that's
like a mini Dre.
Mini Dre. He's called it.
Oh,
People listen.
Sorry.
He's called it straight off the bat.
I'll just say that's what I idolize in that world. So
that's sick.
You
That's
can
sick.
sort of see what I'm doing.
Where did it all start for you? How did music come into your life?
Well, obviously, like, I always got into music, always wanted to be a part of it. I was just really shitty at playing it. Like, I tried the drums.
Okay.
Shit. There's no rhythm with my hands, you know?
Right.
Doing like all this.
Yeah.
I've tried a bit of guitar, just it wasn't really my thing. And then I actually started DJing.
Oh, yeah.
And the DJing, I wanted to be a DJ when I was 15. I just thought, you know what?
Just party shit or?
You know what they used to play? Like Stereo Sonic Live on Nova. I used to listen to them. Like, man, like there's like Axwell, you know, Axwell and all this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want to be
beat
like
mixing.
Just beat mixing, like festival music. They'll play it and I'm like, I want to go. And then I bought DJ decks for my 15th or 16th birthday. So I spent like a nice little chunk, 1,000 clams.
Yeah.
And it just kickstarted. I just DJ'd every day for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I got into like, you know, what a track is, how they are, like, you know, the 16 intro. I started to learn about music like that. I always used to say it the ghetto way.
Right.
Then I got Ableton in the same year just to learn, correlate the two of them. And then boom. I was really bad though.
Even that's interesting because it's like I knew quite a few people that started off DJing in their teens, and I think a lot of people really just wanted to like DJ parties and just like provide the tunes for parties and just like allow people to have a good time, you know. Like it's funny because like when you're young and you go into parties and stuff, I feel like you're really either into music or you're either really into hanging out or like there's a crossover. But like for us musos, especially if we're like, you know, currently producers or DJs or whatever it might be, we have that in us where we want to like provide that for people. And we want to be that person where we can be like, I got you. I've got this specific CD, this specific playlist.
I got you.
I made all the mixed CDs when I was a kid. So I feel
you knew what was up.
Yeah. I DJ'd for about 6 or 8 months at one period as well. It was terrible. I got paid like $100 a gig. It was terrible.
That's what it was then though.
Exactly. And like, I think there's a lot of people that would understand that, like when you're young, you just want to try and provide music to people. Is that kind of what it was for you?
I think, I don't know, like I like that. I didn't really care about doing the party thing and being like, yo, I'm here, you know. It was more like I saw myself as like a up and coming like big, I wanted to be like a festival person. Sick. I wanted to be like an Avicii or a Skrillex or something like that, right? Just for that factor. Okay. I never like went to parties like, yo, I want to make sure that like Danjo in the corner's having a good time. Mate, I couldn't care less.
Fair enough.
I actually just wanted to play the songs that I loved.
But
that transitioned pretty fast over the years.
Yeah.
So when
So you got Ableton and you started making tunes, not very well, but like
I was
start
at the
figuring it
start.
out.
I didn't know what I wasn't in key, and timing was an issue grid wise. If you know, in terms of the production world.
Yeah. Yep.
But funny enough, it came full circle pretty fast. Like I started learning when I was like, probably like a bit better, around 18 and 19, and I was still touring and DJing, but I was learning a lot more about like how to make the actual music I wanted. And it took a while, but yeah, we're here.
I think it's interesting that you knew that straight away that you wanted to do that, and I'm sure a lot of people could relate. For me, it was like playing music and playing in a band, like playing drums and guitar and whatever else I could get my hands on, and that was the thing. I just wanted to play gigs, so yeah.
But you could like as well. Cool. Like what I've seen you, Stu, is that you can play. You can play anything, man. So it's pretty like
not everything, but I give it a crack.
Sing, you know? You can play bass, keys. Like you're an all rounder, mate.
I give it a go. But that's cool, man. So like, what music? Like, was it purely dance music that influenced you right at the start? Was that kind of what you got into right at the start?
I think dance music propelled it because it was a certain feeling, and I was going through that angsty like teenage. You know, let's go out, you know.
Yeah.
But rock influenced me a lot, like because my dad used to like keep me with a lot of rock and obviously dance music since a young age. But like I always was influenced from hip hop from a young age. I thought I listened to like all the gangster stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I never thought I could make it because, like, I'm not kicking it with 50, you know. I'm not kicking it with, you know, you can. I'm not. That's pretty young then. But you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I wasn't in that.
You weren't in that crowd.
I'm like, how am I going to talk about this life when I'm not from that life?
Yeah. So then let's talk about that transition then. Like, you obviously did quite a lot of DJing. You played heaps of gigs as a DJ, and you were doing stuff.
Yeah.
So then, how did that go into the hip hop world?
Well, I was from this stage, I was touring. At the stage, I was in Montreal and in the USA doing a few shows, and I was by myself. I got like pretty much was going through like a lot of anxiety, and like I was by myself. I'm like, this isn't fun, you know. So I got home. I think it was like when I was 24. I'm 28, so about 4 years ago, and I'm like, you know what? You know, let's start a hip hop name. Something different to this old name and all this what people know me. And it was actually.
I met you shortly after that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you did, and that's why I call myself JUJO because we started 2 initials of my first name and 2 initials of my last name. So it was like this is more me, and I always wanted to make hip hop because you know it spoke to me. There was feeling to it.
Was there specific? You mentioned Dre earlier. Was there idols? There were people that you were like, man, they're the goats.
Reason why I say Dre is because I saw what he did for his community and obviously for the culture, but more importantly for the people. Like he produced all these records for people, and people like, yo, Dre. Yeah. Yo, Dre did that. Yeah. Yo, he did. Oh, they did that. Like, you know, like there's a collective. Right. And I wanted to be like that for my people and for Australia, because I didn't feel like everyone just takes the bag or takes the plaque or whatever you want to call it and runs. Yeah, I'm here to stand. Like I'll build a big army around it. But let's make quality hip hop music.
I think the thing that I noticed was that you saw some DJs for hip hop crews. Yeah. Like you started to see that happening where people were getting a little bit more recognition as a producer and being part of the group and things like that, which was cool. But you're right, it wasn't like. It was always about the songs and the people performing them. Yes. There wasn't that much of like, okay, let's build something and, you know, provide that community aspect to different people in different areas, but let's bring them all together and let me be that sound. Yeah. Was it about like, I need to find my sound? Was there something like that?
There was definitely a sound, and I think over the years, what influenced me from the electronic world, from the dance world, was, or more importantly, the electronic dance music, was, you know, making your production loud and adapting to the new age of sound. You know, extra crispy hats, saturated drums, saturated bass, 808s.
Well, listening to your stuff, I've heard quite a lot of your stuff. Like I always check out the new stuff that comes out, and there is a distinct sound to your production. There's a lot of chops. There's a lot of stop-start sort of action, keeping the listener interested. Yep. Change ups halfway through the songs. Your snares always have a really fast attack and just quick release. Yes. There's no lingering, very little reverb. It's kind of like, is it is it intentional? Is it every time you're making a tune, are you going to the same samples? Are there new samples? Like, how do you go to, what's the approach there?
I guess I'll have a go-to set of, let's say, drums and 808s and just stuff like basses that I use, right?
Yep.
I know that they're going to work in the mix.
Yep.
I know they're going to work in the production or, that I'm using with. But I use that because I just feel like I like things tight.
Yeah.
And I've always liked that. And I think it gauges from being electronic dance music producer at one stage and having everything really together. But at the same time, I do change my styles here and there. Sometimes I feel like I need that. Like I always call it with my man Jordan. We call it like the piece of shit snare. It's pretty much just like probably the worst snare in your samples or your packs that you go through, and you literally have to make that snare work in the mix.
Yeah,
because it's like I always say, it's like using old school elements, which is that piece of shit snare, and using the new elements, which is like tighter transients on your, like you said, fast attack, small little clip. You know,
little clipping, make everything loud
and short,
crunchy,
and
oversaturate, like to a degree where it's an artistic thing, where it's like you're not accidentally distorting stuff. Like when you're first starting out, you don't know how to gain structure and all that sort of shit.
My vocals is pretty much gaining off its head, but I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from people like yourself, and just how to like do it intentionally.
Yeah.
And like I'm always down to experiment. There's no rules. There's never any rules when I make music.
Yeah.
And I just want to keep doing that as much as I can.
And so how intentional is it? Is it like you're going with the vibe, or do you have something where you're setting out to make a specific style?
Yeah, a lot of the time I would set out to. I'll tell you, like, there's three ways. I'll go either if I'm producing for an artist, I'd be like, okay, what's your references? Like, what are you looking for a next single, next project? You know, they might say, okay, I want a sound. Let's just use an example like Drake.
Okay.
So you already know what's in that, you know, ominous sounds, filtered stuff, you know, crispy hats, but also like things need a bit of air and room, you know. So I'd put that in my mind, and I'll go with that. But I also put my spin on it.
Yep.
And then you got to the other side of it. It's like, you know what? I thought about you last night, like I did with I recently had a session with the 111 boys.
Yep.
And I really went like it sounds like Skrillex.
Yeah, sick.
And I'm like, I think it needs this sound. So I walked into the session. I showed the boys. I showed their producer Billy. I said, "Yo, what do you reckon?" And he's like, "Yo, this is hard." He's like, "This is exactly what we're going for."
Yeah.
So you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it's really intentional when I'm making them without knowing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go blind, and sometimes it's like, tell me what you want.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is. Artists are Artists are very like, I wanted it to sound like Erykah Badu. And you're just like, I got you, man. I know what you want.
Yeah. So when you get an artist come to you and they have something very specific, because sometimes, you know, you obviously want to be able to work with people and you want them to have a good experience and stuff. Is there times where you have to just be like, this isn't going to work because I either don't like vibe with the style of music that you want to create, or it's just kind of a personality thing? Like how often does that sort of thing happen?
Happens a lot in terms of like, I always say like, what do you want to make? Like if I'm producing for an artist or if it's a collaborative thing, I always want the person I'm working with, the top line or a songwriter, to be comfortable with what we're working on.
Yeah.
But there's an instance where this was recently, I had an artist and she showed me amazing works that she had, and they're all R&B and very in that pocket, right? I said to her, let's go like Neptunes. She looked at me, she's like, I'm scared, but in like a good way. I said, why are you scared? She's like, because I've never done that. I listened to that style, like Nelly Furtado, you know, all that, but I've never done that. But I'm scared to do it because I don't know what I'm going to sound like. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
So I did her this type of Pharrell style beat, which was sick. I still love it. And she just put her R&B style on that. Yeah. And it was like, yo, we just made something.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's a buzz.
It's crazy.
I can give them all this R&B stuff, don't get me wrong, as an example. But I want something when the artist is going to be like, after the session, be like, you know what? I work with this guy, JUJO, and we made this beat I'll never make with a producer
Yeah.
or with or in my thought in my artistry.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
That's
Ruffle the
awesome.
feathers, man.
Man, well, that's true. I mean, like, you can have expectations going into a session of what it's going to end up like, but 95% of the time it changes.
Exactly.
And you can't predict what is going to happen in the moment, what melody someone's going to come up with, or, you know, what rhyme they're going to come up with, or what rhythm. That's just going to complete. We're going with that. We're changing the beat, we're changing the melody, whatever it is, and you do a full 180, and it turns out completely different.
Sometimes that's the best.
That is.
And that's happened as well, like in sessions where it'll be like, especially with George and I doing the Flyboy project, we've had heaps of songs we made.
Yeah.
And it's like recorded everything, and we're like, this is not hitting.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, we got this effect called the lemonade chillin' effect. It's, in other words, it's pretty much a bunch of like grain delays and really crunchy delays we put on the master chain. And there's some things that people do that I know. It's like, you know, you put crushes on there and all these VSTs that you can find. See that? It changes the pitch of the whole track.
Sick.
And it fucks with it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's when you know, all right, this song sounds way better in, you know, -3 semitones, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's go with that.
Oh, yeah.
Even the vocals.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So there's ways that we can...
Well, like you said before, there's no rules. Like, you know, people, like, especially these days where access to YouTube and things like that, it's free. It's readily available. There's so much of it. But what you find is, or what I've found is, people start to watch the same shit. And they get regurgitated information, and they think that something has to be a specific way. Yeah. And so you find, well, I find at least, that, you know, some of the artists that you work with, especially young artists that haven't found their sound and things like that, they have this idea that they need to sound like something, or they need to emulate that to a T, and it has to be the exact same way. But what they're not getting is that perspective of, if you think about it, the biggest artists in the world are that way because they're so unique. They don't sound like anyone else. So why would you want to get influences from people?
Definitely.
And you know, that can it has to. You have to be influenced by stuff.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. That's what it is. But you have to have your own thing. So a lot of it is like going with that vibe and changing shit up and just like trying it and just see what happens, because you just never know.
You never know. You never know. You're right. You're spot on. You just it is regurgitated a lot of the time. And some days I feel like, oh damn, like doing another song like this. Or we're trying to do a song like a Mick Jenkins, or, you know, because I love all these like up and coming, like not really up and coming, but these type of artists. So they got this jazzy sound. But then I make it. And I'm like, yo, this is the same shit. Like, I need to do my own, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
You get lost in those times sometimes. Because
it's a good like experiment, I find, like to try and sound like something.
Try and see how close you can get to that product. But it's already been done.
It has been done. And
type beats do my head in.
But well, that's the thing. And again, YouTube. It's like people that are finding beats on YouTube and coming in with an MP3. It's like, man, how do you expect to stand out from the crowd? But yeah, I think that exercise is really, really worthwhile as a producer or an engineer, or, you know, anyone that's trying to get specific tones with their guitar, or, you know, download patches on keys and whatever it might be, is to try and figure out how people get specific sounds. But then it's, how can you use that in the moment? How can you do that your own way and go, yeah, I remember, you know, they clipped the mix bus or whatever. How can I do that so that it suits this song, rather than how do I do that so that it sounds like this? Yeah.
That's it. You bring in your own ways of using those techniques. Yeah. And so it benefits you, because some mixes are here that are the world's like that are blowing. The song's got 100 million views. I'm like, they've probably got like... They probably got some dude that's probably just paid $5 to $10,000 for a mix. Like,
or they've got like 10 different people that have gone through.
Okay,
and they've taken little things from each different person. You know what I mean?
So I don't even know that. Okay, that world. It's just
me either.
People just like, you know what I mean. But you're right. There's probably like multiple people, big teams. So don't put that pressure on yourself to get that 808 knocking that certain way. Like we're just in different places. Just make your own recipe.
Well, that's it. Well, I think like you touched on an important thing there, is like, don't put that pressure on yourself. And what what I've seen over the years being here, where I'm working with different artists of different styles, you know, they all seem to have this pressure of this song's going to drop and it's going to be amazing. Yeah. And so they have that, you know, perfectionism thing that they get into.
That's probably the worst.
It's the worst.
It's the worst, bro.
And it's like, yeah, we've talked about it on the Marshall Street podcast where it's like you could spend 6 months trying to make this one song amazing, or you could do 6 songs in 6 months and they're all going to sound different and you're going to learn different things in each song. There's no way that you can possibly learn as much working on one song as opposed to doing 6, and maybe 5 of them don't work and you get that one amazing one that just hits.
But that's all it is. It's trial and error. And like you said, learning your sound, learning your craft.
Yeah.
It's not going to take one. And I've got a lot of friends and colleagues around the industry that would come like, how, like, you guys just chop them out. You got so many songs. I'm like, because... yeah, you've probably heard 20 of those, but there's 100.
Facts, yeah.
There's 100. There's 40 shit ones that you're just like, yeah. But we're not going to show you that because it's about building a catalog and learning from your mistakes, and that's how we grow, and that's how I grow. I have a session. I have 6 hours. Let's say we start at 12, finish at 6. Man, I'm trying to get 3 ideas out, not one, not even half idea. Let's get 3. One might be something chill. One might be shit. And one might be the money. So let's just have an open approach to like creating, because that's how you're gonna make that album one day. Yeah, you're not gonna make an album by making, like you said, one song every 6 months, perfecting one vocal or perfecting, you know, how someone else played the guitar. Yeah, mate.
Just move on.
Move on.
Absolutely. And is that in the moment when you're, you know, say you're like, you've got that expectation, you know, I'm gonna try and work on 3 different ideas in this 6 hours. What point does it get to? Is it a similar thing each time where you're like, let's move on to the next one? Yep. Is there something that triggers you?
15-minute warning, I like to say. So let's say I could put a beat on, and there's been heaps of times I've done this in a session, and I put a beat on, I'm like, listen, what do you reckon? They're like, yeah. You know, I'm like, let's do it. I'll write for like 10 minutes, and even I'll be listening to see if I can do some work to tailor the beat or whatever. It might start with a sample, or might start with like some chords, whatever it is. If I'm not grooving in 15 or 20, we're like, yo, like I'm on. And same as the songwriter or the performer, whatever it is.
Move on. Love it.
I'll send you the beat, so you might come up with it in 2 months, and you'd be like, yo, that song we made, which has happened. Yeah. But
this is the thing as well. It's like such a different, I mean, even me working in the role that I do, a lot of the time I'm specifically working on a song that an artist has brought in. Yep. So I'm even in a completely different space to you.
Yeah, you're actually got to do with what you got.
Exactly, a lot of the time. But it's like, you know, without having that awareness of, I'm just going to trust my instincts and feel and just like trust that. Yeah. That's because it's also a hard thing, because you don't know what the other person's thinking. You don't know what they've been through leading up to that day. They might be feeling a bit sick. They might be tired. Whatever it might be. And you go in and you're just not feeling it. And you go on, I'm just going to push through because they seem to be liking it. Although in their head, they're also like, I fucking hate this. Yeah. This sucks. This beat sucks. Like, let's move on.
That's a question for you that I want to ask you. How do you deal with that process? Like, obviously, if you're mixing a track or you're producing a record for someone, how do you battle through that? Because I've had times even when I mix for my own stuff and I'm by myself. I'm like, I wish someone was here to tell me it's good or bad.
I think I put on the service provider hat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, my job in that instance is to get the most out of whatever it is. And so I might not love everything that I work on, but I'm going to do my best to try and squeeze every single ounce out of it as I can. And if that includes, hey, this verse sucks, let's rewrite it, then that's what it is. You know, you have to, and that's where creating a really good environment for the artist that you're working with is such a big deal, because if they're feeling uneasy or they're not feeling comfortable, you haven't made them feel comfortable. You're like, come in, you're like, hey, where's the song? Let's start working on it. They're going to be scared to speak up, or they're going to be like, no, I really want to do this, and it's not going to work. So you have to really focus on that experience.
Yeah, it's the rapport building as well. Energy don't lie. Energy don't lie in a session.
Energy.
And like I love learning other people's processes, because I know how busy you get. I know that you're a producer, wear that cap, and you also wear the cap of mixing engineer and engineer. So it's like credits here, because there's times where I've engineered for just recording people, and I'm starting like, man.
Well, tell me about that. Like, how do you navigate through that? Like dealing with adversity. Like, if you're in a session and it feels really uncomfortable, like what do you do? Because I think a lot of people would want to know about that.
Well, the best thing to do is like have heaps of breaks. Like, you know, like I have a lot of people that like enjoy like playing basketball or, you know, having a cigarette or other type of cigarettes. To keep, like, help them chill and keep calm, but get out of the room, listen to other music, chill out, talk. But if you're also like halfway through a project, it's on you as well to say, hey, we're nearly there. Look, let's go. Because all it takes is that one break, and the talent will come back in and be like, you know what, man? Like, today was a good day. I got to go. Like, they make up some bullshit excuses. I've had people say, I got to leave at 4, and then at 3:30 we're buzzing, and like, yo, I'm gonna stay till 7. But well, hold on. What happened to your dinner plans at 5 o'clock? It's like that date thing. Now they do the date thing,
right?
Guys and girls, right? Oh, I'm meeting my friend at 5 for dinner.
It's like it's a backup. Like, just in case.
Just tell me, man. I got that much shit I got to do. But respect, like, people are thinking about that. See, they're really thinking about maybe if this don't work. So let's try and get them in that mood at the start. And if you ever have problems like recording and getting the actual idea down, either punch through it or allow for that to like grow. The second session might be the better, or the third session. You want to build a team and
you're right. You don't want a one and done. You don't want one song with a client. And you want to do like 10 tracks, man. You want to build that long-term rapport with them.
Sometimes it's the 6th track that is not the money, but it's the one that's going to be like, the artist is going to be like, I'm growing from this. It's not the second, it's not the first.
So everyone's got to start somewhere as well. And that's an important thing, is like, you know, everyone starts off not knowing as much. That's what a journey is. You start off, you only know a certain amount of things. You feel like you're learning. And then you get to a point, it's that Dunning-Kruger thing where it's like, you feel like you know heaps, and then you realize you don't know shit. And you start from the start.
And it's great.
And then it gradually builds, and it's good, because you're right. You just have to push through sometimes, where if you didn't have that grit and determination and you give up really easily on something, there is a good chance that you'll have that one and done relationship with a lot of different artists. And so you're right. Like, man, some songs just aren't going to vibe, but then you get to that 6th one, you're like, this is sick. Now we've found it. Now we know what to do next time.
And that's important. And there's also times with the one and done, it's not necessarily from the vibe in the room or the product. It's to do with the post stuff. It's to do with how the music's released. It's to do with the team behind that artist, which it doesn't necessarily fall on the producer or the engineer. But that's what a producer engineer does. Is like, we're like the uncles and the dads and the grandfathers and grandmothers.
We wear so many hats. We have to be a psychologist. We have to be the beatmaker. We have to know what sounds we want. There's so many different things that you have to be able to do to be a successful producer. Of
course. And
go on.
No, I'm saying if you put a week of work in mixing and recording, let's say a whole week, like every day, and that song comes out, and there's no plan behind it. There's the song is not even like, it's not connecting where it should be. You know, that's a letdown as well. So it's also like finding and educating the next stages of the release. It's not just making the love in the studio. It's also like what comes after that would propel the artist. So
for sure, because it's as important to you as it is to them for it to be successful. Because the more people that hears your music as a producer, the more chance you're going to be able to work with someone else that hears it.
They're going to be like, yo, I heard that song you did with XYZ. Let's get in the room. And that's happened a lot after a song's come out. I've been hit up.
They're the best relationships, I think.
Yeah, because the person wants to work with you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you were talking about having a team. Is that something that built over time, or was it kind of like a quick, I know these people, let's get them all together, let's work on this? What does that look like for you?
I started off with no team because I thought I was like, I could do it, you know? But I didn't know shit. I didn't know shit about the legality. I didn't know stuff about like what term, like all the stuff. points on agreements and just stuff like that. Just having your own back, making sure that you're good, because in the long run, there's stuff that has come through sync wise or this and that, and you're not a part of it because your business has been bad. But I've built a team in the last 2-3 years with a manager. His name's Dion Brownfield, Grand Trine Management. Shout out him. And he's really like elevated my business and my branding in regards to a team, with contracts, with just double checking on the songs and the releases, understanding what the artist is doing with their marketing plans and their vision outside the music, which I don't have to do. I'm just in the room making sure that we're making love and hits.
At the end of the day, you are a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to do everything well. It's just not possible.
It's not good. It's not. You can't.
It's also
you can't
bad
juggle.
for business.
You can't. Yeah. When you put a cool producer cap on and you come in staunch and you're trying to manage them or something. It's just becomes like you said, it becomes ugly. So I think to like circle back, having a good team and having people that are better than you in other pockets of the world, let's say business, or if it's if you're even bad at mixing and mastering, having someone to do that, and artwork and this, having different people that are better than you is great for your team and your longevity as a producer or as an artist. So just people, you don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah, no, for sure. I wanted to ask, because we talked about potentially negative sessions or feeling shitty in a session or something like that. What's a good session to look like to you? Do you like high energy? Do you like it to be chill? Like what ideally, when you walk in and you're like, what's this day going to look like? If it's the best day, what's that look like?
I think, I know it sounds weird to say, but like, it's just the feeling of it. Like you can feel like a certain vibe of people, and if they're like open and down, like I've had sessions where people are closed, right? But then a good session is just people that are just down and that match your frequency. You know? As in, like if you are making a beat, they're like, yo, I can work with this. Yeah. Even though it might be out of their comfort zone, they can work with it, and you can chop and change, and you can also be real with each other. Hey, man, like, or hey, that verse is shit. Yeah. Or actually, hey, the hook should be like this. They take advice from you. They trust you. They respect you. And you respect them. You ever say, that verse, you just went and gone for it. I love it. Yeah. So it's that. It's just having mutual respect for one another and allowing each other to be completely present and open in the session. Yeah.
Experimentation stands out to me as something that is really important to you, and I hear it in your music. Your beats aren't necessarily like to a grid. They're like, the hi-hats are off, the snares are sometimes off. It's cool because it gives it its own vibe, but it's experimental at the same time. You're not always going to a kick, snare, kick, snare. It's like that would get really boring. So experimentation seems to me to be a huge part of who you are.
Of course.
That's cool, man.
That's it. Yeah, just pushing out, just to make the best product.
Yeah.
If it's for myself or it's for the artist, let's make the best product we can. Let's make a hit. Let's go. Come on.
Love it. Let's talk nerdy shit.
Nerd me out, baby.
Nerdy shit. Favorite gear or plug-in VST, instrument, whatever it might be. What are your go-tos?
All right, let's go. All right. Favorite VST has to be, right now, I've been obviously a lot of hip hop producers been using like RC20 and stuff. I feel like my use for RC20 is pretty much to keep all my music stuff in one realm. Right. So like I just put on the group. So it makes it sound like I usually build my own samples, like make a little, chuck a little horn in, and I try to get a piano. Then when I put that on there, it creates like its own. Like I've just downloaded a sample. Yeah. That's like crazy for me. Yeah. What other VSTs? I've been really digging, like I always go to the CLA vocal chain from Waves. Yep. For my vocals, I always put that on. Nectar.
What about it? Like,
it's just got this. I think the compressor in it is really crazy.
Which one do you use?
I use a 2A.
Okay.
I use a 2A. Yeah. It just really just does what it needs to do. Yep. For me, in terms of vocals, putting it just above the beat. Yep. I use Nectar 3. Yep. Which was, it just all round good for processing
Yeah,
vocals. You got a tune, you got all the little
100%.
delays and stuff.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of this one VST that I used to use. It's to create.
Where do you get your samples from?
Okay. So I make my samples.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I use Arcade to help me out. Output Arcade, which you can triggers.
Dude, I love that shit.
That shit's so
I
fun.
love that shit.
We'll play with
Bro,
it.
it's the best.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
But if I don't go there, I usually got a bunch of stuff that homies give me along the way. I got Kingsway music samples from Drum Broker. Use Splice here and there if I need an idea or a bass line. I don't really use it that much.
Yeah.
It's just more for like, if I need something like in that key right now, let's go. I actually sit the artist on Splice. Yeah. I'll go have a cigarette.
Yeah, have a look.
I say, sit on here until you find something. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Because he's like, I don't know what I want. Like, right. Yeah.
What's your favorite element to work on in a song? Is it drums? Is it melody?
I think it's different. Like for me, it's definitely the rhythm and it's the drum and bass element. Yeah. So it's like obviously getting a crazy groove and making sure it's just weird and different. Yeah. And then adding that layer of bass, I like it, which is I do a bit of both.
I've noticed that a lot of the time your bass tones are actually sound like bass guitars.
Yeah, I've been playing them. Yeah, I've been playing bass. Yeah, so sick. I'm really slow at it. I play like one note at a time.
And just sample it in.
Yeah, it's mad. Oh yeah. So I can learn that way. I'm not a Stu Watts.
But it's sick though because I think like I've noticed as well in your songs, there's not always just one bass sound. You know, you're bringing in like 3 or 4 different tones and kind of let's just like chuck one note or like a bass slide. Yeah. And it's just like, man, it just kind of draws your attention because it's like, that sounded different. What was that?
Yeah, sometimes that's all it needs. That's sick. That's something that I like to do. But like even if I start musically, let's say I get a homie playing the gat and then I've got someone playing some cool chords over the top, I'll go with that. Like, if it's that vibe, I'll start with maybe a real bass. Yeah. Like that tone. And if it needs that, I'll then cover it with an 808 and give it some bop. I usually have 3-4 basses in my music and changes. Like people, it might not sound like that, but it's in there.
Because that's probably because it's just mixed well, but I can definitely hear it. Like, you should be able to tell what an 808 sounds like compared to a bass. If not, get your learning up. Like, try and just listen. Like, I think that's a big deal. Like, how did you, what was that like coming up, like learning stuff and figuring out which sounds you liked and which ones you didn't? What did that look like?
That was really like, I don't know. I changed a lot. Like I was very influenced at one stage from like old school hip hop. Then I moved into more the trappy stuff or more fun electronic leaning stuff. Yep. I think the sounds that I just come across and, for example, at the start was Kendrick Lamar, Pippa Butterfly. So what are you thinking?
Jazzy sort of like natural drum sounds.
Bang,
real bass.
Let's put the drums second. Put the drums behind. Yep. The drums aren't the focus. The focus is the musicality. So there you go. But then there's other stuff like where the drums, like Schoolboy Q, Blankface. Yeah. Drums is pivotal. Yeah. Soundscape, pivotal. It's not even what the music is doing. It's the drums, it's the rhythm. It's also like all these little...
And was that learning by experimentation or listening?
It was listening and really diving into what people were doing, but also experimentation. Yeah. Like don't always go to a piano like to start, Don't always go to a gat or a bass. Yeah. Start just build a soundscape. Yeah. Build the like if you're trying to score a movie, do that first. And then go from there. Like try a different way first, and you'll see like, oh wow, that's how I build a lot of things that it's more about me. So it just makes it a little bit more special.
I like it because you're not only just challenging yourself every time you do something, which leads to cool and exciting things. Again, the experimentation thing, it's standing out, but it's also like you're letting the music or a sample or a drum sound guide where to next. And it's when you're young and you don't really understand what necessarily you're doing or what the end product is going to sound like, you kind of just stick on one thing for ages and I've got to get this one sound right. Yeah. It's like, let's play with it for 5-10 minutes, see where I'm at, and then take a step back and then come back and go, what's next?
Yeah.
Is it bass? Is it drums? Is it a piano? Whatever it is. And you're just kind of going with the flow and you're building it. And then eventually that's when it does start to come into place. This is something that I hear from a lot of people that I work with is like, I'm very audio focused. You know, I know the sound that I want to get when I'm about to mic up a guitar when we're doing a certain section of the song, verse or whatever. You know, I'm like, I know the sound. And let's just see how we can get it. And we get it, and the artist might be like, I don't know what, that sounds like shit or something. I'm like, trust me, it will be awesome. And then you get to, you know, a day later when you've been working on this song and it's starting to come together, and it is that one guitar sound that I knew that I wanted to get, that they're like, that's so sick, that part. I'm like, I told you.
Glad we did that. Yeah.
I told you. But it's that instinct of like.
Because you're building around the guitar. Like if you're obviously like, let's say you're producing rock music or something that has guitars in it, the focus is the guitars. You got to make sure like you got good drum sounds and you got like the way
it's really like every little thing matters.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but for me,
true,
the ghetto way, I'm just like, two elements, just go from that. That's why if someone was to mix that genre of me, they'll be like, yo man, like, you know, your bass was pretty muddy and these were pretty tinny. Yeah. But like, hey, the actual idea's there, right?
Yeah. Well, I think some of the best mix jobs I've had are when the production's really simple. You know, you're not getting 100 tracks. I mean, I've done productions myself where there's 80, 100 tracks, and it's crazy to mix. Like, it takes forever.
Oh, I've done. I feel sorry for all the mixing engineers out there that I've given 100, and I've had one recently that had 140 tracks.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, it is what it is.
There's
like,
small
that's
little
the song.
things on there, but it's like, if you want me to make stem it out small, I can. It's just like, you ask for them.
Yeah. But I think the simplicity aspect of music, even if it's complicated music, being like, what's the simplest way of achieving that is a lot of the time the better way of going about it. And whether that's like, you know, using one plugin instead of 4. Yeah. It's like, I think like having that mindset is an important mindset to have. It's like, what's the quickest way that I can get to this and move on? Because, you know, that's when you start to get good at shit, is when you can do it in one sound, in one action.
Yeah. Because then you can, like, let's be real. If you're in a session, it sounds where it needs to be. No one's really looking out for that sound. When you get home or when you're by yourself in the studio, whatever it is, you can finesse it.
Yeah.
You know, you got a moment of magic. Keep that magic going. Love it, and even to say before, like, some of my processes is, if I know I'm with a rapper, all they need is a beat.
Yeah.
If they need the whole symphony orchestra in the room, they're off their head. They just need a... That's all they need to write something.
Facts,
then add some chords, they can do the melody to it. Cool. That's all they're going to need.
The chances are you're going to change 50% of it after they're gone anyway.
But the actual pocket is there. So, you know what
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for listening so far. There is plenty more to come, so don't go anywhere. I just wanted to let you know that this podcast is made completely independently by myself with no sponsors. So if you like what you hear and you would like to show your support, you can send a donation to the PayPal link, paypal.me/whatsthatsound. The link is also in the show notes. Thanks so much for your support, and let's get back to it. Sweet. So tell us about some of the more recent things that you've been working on. What do they look like? Like, what do sessions look like these days for JUJO?
All right. So, like, lately I've been working on a lot of up-and-coming artists, I guess, or developing artists. So it's more like figuring out what the next single is, figuring out, like, they might want some EP tracks. Like, I recently did a session with my homie Ivan Ooze.
Oh, yeah.
And he's such a legend.
Yeah.
And he just came in. He's like, look, man, like, I'm writing a couple of albums. I got one EP, one other EP. They're like, I'll just call albums.
Yep.
Because you're going to have like 12 tracks on them.
Yeah, it's an album.
And he's just like, yeah, this project's like boom bappy. And then this project's like more like electronic-y, like hard trappy vibes.
Yeah.
So like, I'll just, sweet, let's make one for that. Let's make one for that. Let's do this and like that. So that's been fun.
Yep.
Because obviously he's a bit more of an established artist, so he knows what he's looking for.
Yep.
But then I've had a few sessions where it's been developing. It's been like, yo, we're gonna need a single, something that's gonna hit. It's gonna put this person on the market.
Yep.
And just get some attention around them. But
does that come through management or does that come from the artist?
Sometimes the artists and their teams will hit us up and say, "Yo, we'd like to work with JUJO to see what we can do together."
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like my manager being, "Yo, there's an artist that I've spoken to that is keen to work with you, but they're in this phase of development.
Yep.
I think it'll be a good idea that we go in and see if we can work something with them," which I'm all about. I've heard the demos. I can see it. I've got to put it, like I said, a different cap on, but it's okay. It's just the life. But also the biggest thing is the Flyboy project, which has been it's been my baby with Jordan Dennis. So that's constant.
art, man.
That's constant, man.
But that for you is like your art project, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it is.
It's like you're putting your heart into that one. Not that you don't put your heart into every other song, which I can tell you do, because you wouldn't be as successful / your music wouldn't sound as good as it does.
It wouldn't connect like
but
that.
But Flyboy Jack, obviously, is you and Jordan combined
together
and being like, this is our project. Let's build this.
It's a big development stage. So out of anything, that's been a lot. That's taken a lot of time and a lot of effort. Grooming the music, choosing the right singles, understanding the next 6 months to the year plan, and also combating gigs as well, because we want to put on good shows and we want to be at that stage where we're on, like let's say a festival in Australia or something like that. So that's the biggest combat, and I love that. Like to me, it's like you set a spot on studio. It's like that's my child, man. Like it's like actually where I can express myself.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's an interesting thing that not a lot of producers would actually want to be doing the live thing. And so, what sort of could you tell anyone that does? Like, how do you battle that? Like, what does it look like?
Well, I'm obviously a producer, like first and foremost, but I'm an artist as well. But I'm just gonna do what I think that I want to do. Like if I'm gonna DJ my beats, I'll DJ them.
Yeah.
Grab a mic. Let's do.
No fucking rules.
No fucking rules, man. And then if it's like, if I want like the upcoming stuff, I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the shit live. So like have spots where I have my moment in the sun as a producer as well as an artist and a performer. Show them my beats live. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We also do improv on stage as well. Sick. So I just start chopping stuff up, and then Geordie or any other homies would jump up and be like, to start freestyling.
That's crazy.
So it creates this old hip hop vibe.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, man. Just to want people to come watch our stuff and be like, yo, that's sick.
Yeah.
Like I wish I was as talented as Jordan on the mic, as in lyrically and all that, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, but fuck, he can't make beats like you do.
Hey, one day. He's trying to make beats now, and I'm trying to rap. So I'm just gonna,
there you go.
We're trying to take each other out.
Nah, that's well, it's all osmosis. You share things, you build together, and you create new shit together and stuff.
I learn a lot off different people, so it's good.
Did you have any mentors, like specific mentors growing up, or?
Yeah, I did. Had one. A guy, I wouldn't, when I was younger, I don't know if he knew that he was mentoring me, but he was mentoring me a lot. His name's Alex Braithwaite.
Okay.
He's an engineer now as well. He's pretty much a dubstep producer. He started off as Trump Disco, and now he's under the name Subhuman.
Okay.
So he's very dubstep, electronic. He taught me, like, to me, Skrillex is one of the best producers in the world to me.
Yeah.
He's up there.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. And he just sort of showed me, like he went to my school. His mum was my teacher at one stage.
Wow.
And he gave me the care and enough love and enough distance to make me grow.
Yep.
And now we work together, and now he mixes our stuff.
Unreal.
And we collaborate. And he shows me the respect that I showed him when I was younger. And it's just...
And to pass that on to people, like, what is that sort of the approach that you have when you're mentoring newer people that you work with?
Yeah, it's like, I'll give you what you need and what you want. Like, I won't tell you what you want to hear, but I'll also give you the props and enough guidance to go to the next step. But also not going to give you the keys to that step. Yeah. Find that step yourself, because the path where I'm at now, there was 14 other paths that I was taking. I went down these paths, did a U-turn. I went down the wrong path, went the long way for 2-3 years. You understand?
It's super important. Like, how do you know what you don't want to do?
Exactly. You just got to do it, and it's like, blind.
Analogy is like when you're studying. Like, how do you know what you want to do when you finish school? No one fucking knows.
Fucking knows.
So you spend like 5 years trying to figure, if not more, trying to figure out what you want to do in life. And then you eventually find that's the same in music. People think that there's this one pathway because they only see the tip of the iceberg of famous artists.
Yep.
They don't know what every different artist has done, which is a completely different pathway for every single one. People don't see that. I mean, they're starting to now because of the internet and because everyone's going live and showing their processes and doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
But there is no one set way. So it's important that you really try things out, see if you like them, because you never know what you're going to vibe with. It might not even be being a producer or engineer or artist or whatever. It might be like
managing.
Yeah, exactly. It could be anything like that. And you might be wanting to run gigs or whatever it might be.
It doesn't matter.
Go with it, man.
Just go with the flow.
Go with it.
Like, I actually manage a lot of artists without
Actually
managing them, and they always call me, yo, legit. I got like a bunch of messages from homies. They're like, yo, I need that management agreement that you did, or producer agreement.
Yeah.
I set up distribution channels through like things like InGrooves, which is through Universal. Like I've done that with my manager, like, putting artists up, giving them opportunity. I'm just trying to pass the torch out and educate them. A lot of people don't know, like, you know, obviously having the experience that yourself and I do, just what we've gained over the years. A lot of people don't know that. All they know is that they can sing or they can rap and they can also play, you know, an instrument or Ableton or something like that. They don't know the legalities and all the other stuff.
No one knows that when you haven't learned it. Like it's obvious, but it's true. It's like there's so many unknowns in the music industry that you just have to eventually get to if you're a business person in the music industry. It's like
spot on.
you just eventually get there.
So if I have any advice, when you're not a creative, put your business cap on.
Yeah.
When you're not a business person, put your social media cap on.
Yep.
You know, you got to wear different caps.
Yeah.
And be able to adapt, because I became a better artist and a producer when I knew the business.
Yeah.
I was someone that was just being what's that word? I wasn't with it. I was too busy worrying about the art, and I was burning bridges on the business.
Yep.
So
that's huge. Yeah.
Learn both sides, and don't be afraid to say what you feel, and don't be afraid to get a lawyer.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how far it gets you. So
I mean, it's even I can find parallels to that when I was in a band called The Playbook. We never did any finance plans. We booked our own tours and stuff, but it was pretty haphazard. It was kind of like, let's just book a bunch of shows, like drive there and rock up, try and sell some merch and go home. It's like when you actually put the plans in place, and, you know, I've had to learn it for being my own business, you know, running this audio business that I run, is like, it's the little things that matter. It's like making sure all of your pieces are in place before you actually do the job, you know, making sure the person that you're about to work with fully understands what they're getting into before they step in the room. Yep. All of these little things that make you a better business person in the music industry, they're super crucial. And it's really important that you take your time and, you know, learn those things and spend some time on it. Not just because at the end of the day, the song is like 10, 15% of what you actually do in your everyday. Yep. The song is 10, 15%. And I see it all the time, is like people are putting 80% of their effort into the music. And it's like, you're not going to get there, because it's not possible for you to not put that time in and get results. The maths doesn't work out.
All the other percentages add up.
Yep.
Especially like taking that step that you need to go forward as a branding, as a business, and also as a talent.
Yep.
You got to learn, like, yo, I'm about to do a release soon, and I need to do photos. I need to fix my bio. I need to get all like my links and stuff sorted, which is the last thing I want to do. But it's so pivotal to pitching the song.
Yeah, 100%.
They need good photos. Yep. They need a good bio that is now it's current. It's there. Like all these small things make you seem much more professional moving forward. Like I would send it to the $80 boys. I say, hey, here's my press pack.
Yep.
If I give them the shit photo, they're going to post a shit photo of me.
Correct.
You know what I'm trying to say?
And, 100%. And people that are looking online like, I'm not going to check that
I'm
person
not gonna
out.
check that out. And that was a
Looks
couple
like
of my
shit.
first ones because like I just
did it.
did it. I was just didn't know.
Yeah.
I was too busy in another world. You understand?
Yeah.
So
I love it, man. I love it. What's some final kind of, that's really, really good advice. And I probably think that that's probably one of the most important things that we've talked about all podcast. But advice for, first of all, producers or engineers, and then secondly, the artists that want to work with people like us.
Look, my advice for producers it's obviously number one, like you said earlier at the start. Find your sound. Know who you are and what service you provide. If you go up to someone, and I had that before, like I'm a multi-genre person. Let's make a house. Let's make hip hop. Let's make drill. Let's make this R&B. It's like, confusing. Just be good at one thing. Be the dude that they call you for R&B, or be the girl that they call you for Afro. Be that person. But you can also wear multiple caps. Build a rapport with your clients and your artists. Build a rapport. Be friends. Get to know the dark stuff so you can transmute that out of into the music. Energy don't lie. So if you spend 5 minutes talking to them or smoking a joint, watching YouTube videos, well, that's not the way to go. Spend 5 minutes and get to know your artist, and spend 2 hours the night before researching your artist. Know what they're gonna make. Know their sound. Know the pockets. Know the keys. Know what. Grab some samples. Bunch them up in a USB. Play them straight away. I do that every session. I prepare the night before. Unreal. I even prepared for this if I needed some ammo. Prepare for everything.
Unreal.
So when you go in, it's easier to like showcase yourself. You know what? I heard your stuff. You fit in. I thought this song's good for you. If it's not this is really experimental. If it's not the experimental song, maybe we can make something new with these samples.
Sick.
Or ideas if you can play.
Yeah.
And for artists on the other side of it, trust your engineer and trust your producer. I speak more on behalf of the producing element, as in I'm getting into the engineering world more as a mixing person, but I am far from it compared to someone like yourself, Stu. But I'm still learning. Trust their ears. Trust yourself as well, but like trust that they're gonna take care of the beat and they're gonna take care of your vocals and know what they're doing. Especially if you're paying for their time and you're booking them. So
I think the obviously the best thing that can happen is that it sounds amazing at the end of it.
Of course.
The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't hit the way that you thought it would, and maybe that's not the right person for you. But if you don't trust them, you won't find out.
Communicate.
It'll ruin it. It will. If you try and tell people what to do, if you're like really difficult to work with, it's not going to be a good session at the end of it. I mean. Yeah. If the person's good, it probably will be. But
you know what I mean? Like it's going to be, there's going to be communication breakdowns. So like make sure you communicate and like just express how you want the track if you're getting your stuff mixed. So, hey, like reference these songs. Reference actually my demo. Because a lot of my production, I tell the engineers, reference my mix. It sounds... not good. Yeah, it's muddy.
But I like it.
But I like where the kick is. I like where the snares are. I like that they're clipping. I like my bass where it is.
Yep.
It's just showing them, like, just communicate. I've had heaps of problems where I didn't communicate and I get the mix back, paying X amount, whatever it is, and it sounds like
a different song.
Yeah. So, just trust in that.
I think, as a mix engineer, it's one of my favorite things is to get feedback on it sounding wrong.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because you know how you can tweak it and you can, if it's not hitting there, I can add some more dB to the kicks.
If an artist knows what they want, that's the best thing, man. I 100% agree with that. And it's like...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
you just said it.
Yep.
Artists out there, if you know what you want, it makes a big difference. If you go into, a mixing studio or a production, you're making a song and you don't know what you want, you can't really rely on that.
It's really difficult. It's like... I'm guessing.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
I think you should like this. And then they're like, I didn't like that. Well, tell me what you want.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for everyone listening. Thanks for checking us out. Chuck us a share, chuck us a like, a subscribe, all that business. You know what it is. Yeah. We will see you next time on What's That Sound podcast.
Thanks for listening to What's That Sound.
Make sure you hit follow or subscribe on your podcast platform to stay up to date with each new episode. We'll catch you next time.